Hi, this is the last video on Unit 6, and this is on simple interest rate. So, of course, one would ask, what is simple interest rate? It's a way of investing your money. So if you have, say, $500, and you're now planning on spending it for a few years, say you're gonna save it for college. Say you're like freshman in high school, grandma says, here's $500, I'd like you to put it in college. So you go to a bank and you're like, I'd like to invest this money. So they'll say, okay, well, we can have something for a simple interest rate that builds on how much you invest at a set rate over a period of time. So then you're like, oh, awesome, cool. This is one way of investing. Another one is called compound interest, but we're not going to get into that in this video. So simple interest rate is you have a set amount of money that you're going to invest, you have a set interest, and you have a set time in years. So let's talk about it. It's basically a bunch of multiplying. The equation, for lack of a better word, the way you find simple interest rate is this equation. So you want to write this down. Simple interest, this is the amount that you're going to make, or if you take a loan and borrow money from someone, this is the extra money you would have to pay back. Principal, it's not Miss Sarah Melly. It is the amount of money borrowed or invested. So if you borrowed $5,000, that's the money, that's the principal. If you invested $1,000, then $1,000 would be your principal. Rate of interest. The percent charged or earned. So like if it's gaining interest, or this is how much interest it builds that you have to pay back, that's what it is. But it has to be, but when you multiply everything together, it has to be done as a decimal. Not as a percent. You have to change it from a percent into a decimal. That's usually the tricky part. Time, how long the money is invested or borrowed in years. So if I tell you 20 months, 20 months isn't a full year, and it's not full 2 years, so it's a fraction or a decimal, so you'd have to figure that out. We'll have a problem like that in a minute. Example number 1. So Connor is going to invest. Connor is a young adult. I think I'm good. We'll go with that one. Spelling Connor. Just 2 N's in Connor, but check me on that. He's going to invest $300 for college at a rate of 7%. So the question's asking, how much simple interest will he have after 2 years? So he's going to invest this for 2 years. He's investing $300, and it's at a rate of 7%. This is a lot of stuff to remember. So the first thing I would do is I would write down clearly what it is. The principal is the $300. That's how much money you're going to put in the bank. The rate is 7%. So that's what percent you're going to be investing, or that's the rate that it's going to be increasing by. So, and then, time. Sorry, you're a little tired. Which is 2 years. So I'm going to figure out my interest by multiplying all these things together. So here we go. Interest is equal to principal, $300. So let's zoom in on this one. $300. The rate is 7%. And then we are investing it for 2 years. 300 times 2 is 600. Because of associative law of multiplication, I can do that, right? That's cool. There we go. So that's how I do that. 7%. I can't leave that as a percent. I have to change that into a decimal. Right? Gotta change it into a decimal. So this would be equal to 6 times 7 is 42. But because I'm going to move the decimal because I'm going to have to move the decimal over because of this decimal, it's going to be 42. So That's the answer. What's the answer? Connor's investment would earn $42 in 2 years. So that's my complete sentence. He would earn $42 in 2 years. Awesome. That's it. That's the simple interest rate. We'll do one more example, but that's basic. That's it. It's not too crazy. It's just plugging some stuff in. Sometimes you might have to solve for time, or for the principal, or for the rate. Sometimes you might have to solve for that, but it's just like solving an equation. So we're going to focus more on that in class. Example number 2. Chai bought a car for $20,000 with a loan that he has to pay back in 10 years. So he bought a car for $20,000 and he got it on a loan that he has to pay back in 10 years. Well, they're not going to give you a loan for free. You got to pay a little extra. Okay. If the loan has an interest rate of 4%, how much would he have to pay back? Okay. So again, I'm going to do what I did earlier. The principal is how much you borrowed. So that's $20,000. The rate is how much it's going to grow or build up on. So that's 4%. And time is how long you're going to borrow it for. 10 years. So if this is a simple interest rate, so we're going to put interest over here. That is the principal, $20,000, times the rate, which is 4%, times 10. Because it's already in years. Now remember, if it's not in years, you do have to change it to that. Well, here we go. This should be an equal, not a colon. We're just moving the decimal over one time, so this is 200,000 times 0.04, because that is 4% as a decimal. It's 4 hundredths. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8,000 normally. Normally, that's it. But we have a decimal place, so we have to move it over 2 times. So really, it's not 8,000 or 800,000, it's 8,000. So the interest would be 8,000. That's the interest. Cool. He's got to pay $8,000 back. No, wrong. He borrowed $20,000 and he gets $8,000 in interest. He has to pay all of that back together. Oh, so the question now becomes, what is that called? Well, that's the complete interest. That's how much he has to pay back. So now we got to take 8,000 plus 20,000. I'm gonna be honest with you, I just totally made that one up. I need to look that up because I honestly can't remember what that's called. Go, Mr. V. Go, Mr. V. Hoorah, hoo. Not knowing vocabulary. Total amount, not total principal. That's called A. Total amount is the principal plus the interest. So I know I got these backwards, but that's what it's supposed to be. Sorry. 20,000 plus 8,000 is 28,000. So in 10 years, Chai would pay back $28,000. $8,000. He'd have to pay that much back for his loan. So is taking out a loan great? Yeah, for 10 years I don't have to pay it back, but after 10 years, now you got to pay an extra $8,000. So got to watch those interest rates because they'll get you. That's simple interest rate for the most part, and I'll see you next time.